Hello, everyone. We have a special edition, emergency episode, if you will, of the Nose with Super Bowl champion designers, Evita Ortiz, and, Jake, help me out with your last name, please, so I don't butcher it. What is
Manternach.
it? That's what I thought.
Manternach.
Jake Manternach of the Super Bowl champion, world champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Thank you guys for being on the show. We also have Brent, who may or may not have COVID right now. We're still not sure.
Yeah.
Can you confirm or deny COVID?
I can confirm that it might not be COVID.
Sick. You can punch that into one of those tracing apps, and that'll be just fine.
I've had COVID for 5 months.
Yeah. So. Brent's got COVID like about 14 times already.
Yeah. I can confirm it's not that big of a deal, apparently.
Attaboy.
Careful.
Evita or Jake, you guys live in Florida. Have you had COVID yet?
It's a...
You don't know. Nobody knows. Nobody knows.
Sounds like COVID.
It's definitely COVID. So I wanted to have you guys on. I put an open call out to the Tampa Bay Buccaneer creative team. As people know, I've worked with you guys for the past few years. And I thought, what better way to celebrate an historic event than by talking to the graphic designers who got the team there. Not interested in the players. Don't care about the coaches.
Nope.
This is all design centric. Obviously, the winners are us. So you guys were the first two to jump at the open call, and I'm glad it was you guys because I feel like you'll have a lot of good insight to share. Not that the other members of the team won't, but I know you guys always have a lot to say, so that's always a good thing. So before we get started, if you guys want to just give us like a 30-second rundown of how you got to be a Super Bowl champion. You can start at the beginning of when you started doodling when you were a kid, and then give me 30 seconds of how you got to be world champion. Who wants to go first? Evita, you want to go first?
Go, Jake. Nope, go, Jake.
Jake, go ahead.
All right, start the timer. All right, so I was born in the great state of Iowa, and I grew up with a big fine art background. I do a lot of drawing and illustrations, and did all the way up to and through college. Worked in athletics, got an internship, mostly thanks to Evita, because she saw my drawings on Instagram. Got an internship with the Bucs and have been there for 3 years. And, well, we won enough games to win the Super Bowl.
Instagram, huh?
Yeah.
I was a creeper during his interview.
Oh, man. I remember, so when I first started working with you guys, Jake was still an intern. And I remember walking in, I was like, listen, for this campaign, we're going to need illustration. And then everyone just pointed at the intern, and they were like, have him do it. And I was like, okay, all right, we'll give the intern some work. And there was like heavy lifting. But it was cool that Jake was there because it turns out he can actually draw. So that's a good thing. All right, Evita, you can't dodge this one. Go ahead.
Born and raised in Allentown, PA. Moved to Florida to be closer to my family. I actually worked in banking for years.
Wow.
Hated my life every day. Went to college while I was working. I left that job I actually postponed graduation to study abroad in Brazil for almost a month. The day before I left, I was offered the Orlando Magic internship. The day that I came back to the States, the day after I started, it was a year internship with them, and then I got picked up with the Buccaneers. So this is my 5th year, 6th season with the team. So Best decision I ever made was to leave that job for an internship at minimum wage. Happiest decision I've ever made in my life.
Yeah, internships can be like that. I mean, it's nice to get paid for an internship, but it's nice when it turns into an actual job.
Yeah,
So that's nice.
great staff there.
So
Super
that's
cool.
okay. So as an outsider from the sports design world, or I used to be an outsider from the sports design world, it used to seem like probably the most glamorous job you could possibly have. Now, that silence right there is proof that it is not. It is, in fact, a very grueling job. Did you guys have any idea what you were getting into when you were just like, hey, I'd love to be a designer for a team?
Yeah, no, like, so me coming from working in college athletics at a very small school, Northern Iowa, um, it's definitely different than what it was like or what it is like working for the Bucks. Because I think a lot of times when you're, studying and stuff like that, and you're like, oh man, a job in sports would be cool. You kind of just think like, oh, it's just you're a fan and you're going to be doing like really cool football things like 24/7. But you kind of realize like very quickly, like it's a job. Like there are things to do, and it's
Yeah.
not just going out playing catch with the football or something like that,
Right. Although we do get to do that sometimes, like
Every
during
now and then, every now and then.
like photo shoots. Like whenever we do photo shoots, and then everyone's just kind of like standing around. There's a couple footballs like laying around, and someone always picks one up and just starts like whipping it across the field. Do you guys think that are you and this is something that you guys can refrain from answering if you don't want to answer it, but do you guys enjoy being designers because there's like really, really strenuous circumstances that you have to work under all the time, and especially for like Evita, your mom, the timing for things is like overwhelming a lot of times. Right. Is it something you guys kind of feed off of, or is it something that you could like in the future see yourselves like trying to find, which is funny, like a cushy agency job. Like agency job is supposed to be super stressful, but like compared to what you guys do, it's just like it's pretty chill.
I think it's about balance. I think this past year was probably one of the hardest years that I've ever faced with workload. Obviously with the new changes, with the campaign that we had, with the new uniforms, with the new players, long and behold, we have a roster that we've never had. So it was more of a blessing in disguise to work from home. We are going on we're 11 months deep that I have not stepped foot in that office. And for me, you mentioned being a parent, but like being able to do that and balance it and still be here. Like I can see the bus right outside the window. We can actually cook dinner. And if it means that I take a break and walk out there and be with my family and work on what I have to, I can do that. And I never really had the luxury to do that in the office. And I remember telling Steve the other day, I feel like I'm doing more work now, but I'm also being more attentive to my family. And that's like, sometimes it's a scary thing to say. Like there are so many things that I missed before because the commute, my commute isn't easy because I don't live in the city. So it was a hard balance, but I'm not waiting. I mean, I'm anticipating that email of not coming of when we have to return because this is the best that it's been for us. Like our family's never been this close. It's hard because I miss the boys. I miss that dynamic inside the office. But you have to understand how to balance it and not let your work life consume you because you won't survive.
Yeah, I mean it's it's brutal. I mean it's come from the outside and then coming in and seeing that you could see how intense it is. To piggyback on that, I think that opening is a good example of kind of like the intensity of what this is. So my next question would be, what is your favorite bad movie?
Wow, sick segue.
that was seamless.
I did that on purpose. Because, yo, this shit is like, that's what it'll do to you. You'll just be like, yo, it's time to be serious. But, like,
Oh, what's a
It's-
bad movie that we just saw?
come on, what's a bad movie? Give me a bad movie.
To your point, that's definitely how it feels, right?
Right?
Like you go from working in your office to just with your family and then back to work and
Yep.
and like I'll take days off and it feels like those days off I'm still like checking work emails because my office is right there. And
I can hear the computer. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Man, go Jake. You start. Bad movie. Go.
I guess like my favorite bad movie is The Room. You know, like the hi Mark.
Cliche. Get out
I
of here,
know.
Jake.
So I'm gonna give another answer. I'm gonna give another one. I will get a lot of hate for this, but you know the Grown Ups movies with like Adam Sandler and his
Yeah,
crew?
obviously. Yeah. You like those movies.
They're so bad. They're clearly just Adam Sandler's calling up his buddy saying like, "Hey, you guys want to go on vacation and we'll probably make a lot of money in the box office? Let's do it."
I think that's every Adam Sandler movie post like Happy Gilmore. It's just like, hey friends,
Oh, yeah.
let's have an expensive vacation at the cost of a movie
Yeah,
studio.
The studio, yeah.
Evita, bad movie. Do you like bad movies? Because this is a very specific thing. You need to like bad movies are like sitting on the
No.
couch and laughing at them.
No.
You don't like that?
I don't even know how to answer this. I'm gonna only answer this the best way that I know as a parent. I'm sorry to every Disney fan, but I hated Mulan. The real life Mulan.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's bad.
Like live action or
Yes, but
Gotcha.
Aladdin I could watch over and over the real life. Like all those real life ones that they made and the songs and everything is
Yeah.
so like similar to the animation, and then seeing Mulan and like missing the music or missing some of the storyline, that was super sad for me. And her slicing all her hair off in the cartoon movie and it not happening in the real movie, that was a big deal for me.
I get
we
that.
watched it.
I get that.
Like we watched it as a family, but I'm sitting there like, what were the scenes that made this real for me? I don't even know how to answer this question. We don't watch a lot of movies, but
Are you a
Disney movies.
Are you a Disney fan?
I enjoy Disney. Yes, I
Like,
don't think I'm
are
a fan
you-
of anything.
Are you a Disney fan? Like you guys will go as a family to Disney World and wear matching T-shirts.
No,
Right answer. Right answer.
not us. But we will pay for Disney Plus and watch all the stuff we want to watch. But we are not that one.
That was one of the worst experiences of my life, is taking my family to Disney World and seeing everyone wearing the shirts that had like, they were in like varying
No
Disney
shade.
fonts. Yo, but
Yeah,
yes,
no
definitely shade. Absolutely. Like, I
John, you would make your own shirts and it'd just be a skull with some like circle ears on it.
And then it has to say like Papa and Mama and Baby on it, and then I just like walk around like that for 6 days in a row.
Yeah, do they
Did you do
wash
that?
their shirts like, or do they have multiple shirts for the days they go?
Dude, I don't know. These people, they travel from
Welcome
all
to Florida.
over,
Welcome to Florida.
and they
Welcome
just
to
wear the
Florida.
same shirt for 6 days in a row or 10 days in a row, however long they need to stay in Magic Kingdom and experience the magic. I don't know. I don't know.
It's got to be
That's
the
all
same
all
shirt.
year round.
It's all year round. It is all year
Yeah.
round. It is. It's a horrible, horrible thing. All right, so you won't answer the
my
best,
God.
your favorite bad movie. So what's your favorite good movie?
Mine's Back to the Future.
Oh yeah.
I love Back to the Future. It's number one, undisputed.
Evita.
You could almost also
I-
watch that and rip on it though.
Yes, you can. Oh, you totally can. You can totally, because it's from 1985.
Yeah.
Greatest year ever. I love.
Shout out to
I
me.
love. I love Man on Fire.
Okay, all
With
right.
Denzel Washington.
All right.
I don't know why. The music, like the storyline, the architecture, the way that Dakota Fanning, that for me was a really, really good movie. I can go like that's one that just sticks to me. That's the response that I always say to that. It's a classic for me.
Do you guys ever go to like a barbecue or some shit and get into this conversation and then someone's just like, how come a sports movie is not your favorite movie? You ever get that?
That no.
No? You never had this very specific situation happen and then not have that question pop up? What about
I think it's because I mean, I played sports and stuff, but
Yeah.
like I was never like my life was never just absolutely consumed by sports. Like I was always a big, college football, NFL fan, but I've always had so much more passions like outside of just sports.
like what?
I mean, so I did a lot of like musical theater and like stuff like that, and obviously like art and fine art. There's not like the biggest Venn diagram overlap of like art and sports, and
Yeah,
I think
right.
the overlap is I'm doing it.
Yep.
I think that was the thing. I guess like growing up in high school, like I said, like I was more so into like choir and theater than I was sports, and that's kind of what more so people associated me with.
So you can sing?
Yeah. Not
Very
right now.
Very very matter of factly. Evita, does he sing? Because I've been around, but I don't know if I've been around enough to just like hear him start belting out tunes.
I think Jake should be in Broadway.
Really?
Like he's that top. Yeah.
Wow, that's impressive.
He pretty much was in Hamilton in The Office. So.
Jake, it looks like you're throwing your life away.
I mean, back in the day, like in college, like I had the opportunity to do the opportunity to audition for like some Broadway traveling shows. But I ended up not, just because like I didn't really want to move to New York and try that. I chose a college education over that.
Good call, dude. New York.
Yeah, we're all about to start shitting on New York real
Disagree. Hard disagree.
But no, like I've always kind of just done like performing stuff. Like I still do like a lot of like comedy and improv like on the side. Obviously in a non-COVID world, not
Right.
much theaters open right now.
No, not many.
But-
Not the ones you want to be playing in anyway. Evita, what's your life outside of sports? Anything? You like sports? Did you play sports?
Yes. I wasn't good. I still play them. My mother always had us sign up for something. So I played softball. I was terrible. I played basketball, and I thought it was really good until I went to a public school. And then I turned out to really not be good at all. I think they just let me on the team because they felt bad, because I really like the coaches.
They felt bad.
Because they felt bad.
I think
But
that's how Gronk got on the Bucks.
Yeah, let me not even go there. But
Didn't
no,
you see the T-Mobile commercial? That's how we got to the Bucks.
Gosh, I know. No, but I always look back. My aunt is like the biggest Eagles fan that I know, and I was always around her, and she always watched football.
Yeah.
And that's where like the love came from. And then my family, like we were all about 76ers when Allen Iverson was playing.
Yeah.
So that was big for me. That was big for me in high school. That was big for me in college. Like, my guy now, like our thing on Saturdays is college football. Our thing on Sundays is football. Like it revolves around football in this house, and that's our upbringing. But like I always tell people, you kind of have to like the sport a little bit to be
Right.
a part of working for the sport, because then you put more passion into it, then you enjoy it more.
Right.
But I'm an avid. I came from Orlando Magic to the NFL. I would go back to the NBA.
Yeah.
Much respect for that league and what they do. But even college, but I'm a sport girl.
You definitely got to be a sports lover to keep doing this, because like
Some capacity, yes.
Yeah, because you see people get burned out real fast in sports design.
You're right.
And it's like one of those things too, where it's like I think that the sports in general, the leagues, the teams, they don't understand. And I would say the Bucks are a little different. They have a much bigger creative department than I've ever seen in a lot of other teams, and that goes for bigger market teams too. But like, there's a lot of teams out there that just don't respect creative and just don't understand like why it's worth anything. And people get burned out real fast because they got to do the job of like 20 people. And how many friggin' pieces of collateral do we do a year? Like 8,000?
Yeah, 9,000.
9,000
that 1 year.
It's insane.
Easily.
Like,
Yeah, but they don't even know if it's that number because
Right.
there's like the amount of base camps, and then there's how many pieces within the base camp. And how many things did we do on the side through email?
yeah, right,
You know?
right. Or a text message or something. Someone asked for a special favor
Something
or
quick.
whatever.
Right.
Yeah, it's crazy. So like, okay, so I think for sports design, maybe it's a little bit different. We have people that work at agencies and studios, freelancers, whatever. Give me a quick like day to day. What's like kind of like an average day for you guys?
It's kind of different for each one of us designers. It's not necessarily that we're like divvied up into like certain departments, but we've worked with different departments, so we tend to get those jobs a little bit more.
Yeah.
So I would say as the most like general day to day for like me is, so like if we have a Zoom meeting in the morning, we'll go ahead and do that. And then I may have at any given time like 3-4 different projects that are on my list on a certain day. And then it's just kind of chip away at those as I can, and you divvy up what you think is like easiest. At least that's how I work. And I try to get the smaller stuff out of the way. And then I work on the bigger stuff, usually like after lunch when I take that at noon, and then see what I can get done in a day. And if I can't get it done, hopefully it can get pushed off to the next day or do whatever.
So yeah, so you guys have like basically just like a revolving door of shit that you got to do. But when you get up in the morning, what time do you go in the morning? Like 9 o'clock, right? When you used to go in to work, right?
That also depends.
All over
Jake
the place,
and my
right?
answer are very different. Yep.
Yeah, I was usually the first one in the office, and I'd usually get there. Honestly, it's usually about like 8:30, depending on traffic.
Okay, so it's like a normal time.
Normal time.
I'm at like 9:30 because I'm like 40 minutes away, and the traffic hour for me, it doesn't make sense for me to be there before 9.
Right. And then what time do you guys end up leaving at night?
Well, that's a loaded question, John.
That's why I asked it.
That's completely dependent on the project. Sometimes you stay later just because you want to get on top of the stuff. Sometimes if I have like a big event, that the Bucks are putting on, I'm working on signage. A lot of times I might stay a bit later till like 6 or 7 just so I can, you guys know, like once you get in the groove of designing, you don't want to just stop at 5:30 when you're in a good routine. But then, sometimes there are those like huge projects that come up, that have to be done by a certain time, and it has to go in the next morning. And, you work on it till it's done until you feel good about it.
Do you guys stay like in the office until like 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night? Do you ever do that?
Tyler did.
Okay, so Tyler used to work. He was kind of like, what was he? Senior designer? I don't know. What was his title? I don't know what his name was.
Senior designer.
Senior designer. Yeah. So whatever it was. So Tyler kind of like when we started working, he was kind of like, he was the main guy there. So he has since left, and is a contestant on Survivor. Maybe
He might be.
he's traveling the world. What's his thing? Globe Trouter, right? So his last name's Trout.
Tyler Trout. The best decision he made by far.
Such
Good for
a
him. Saddest day ever.
Yes,
Saddest
such a
day.
nice guy. Sad to see him go. But
Yeah,
yeah, so
incredible
it was
person.
he was the guy, and I like to tell this story. But when we started working with you guys, it was kind of like we needed to figure out what the chant was that we wanted to use in the stadium.
Oh my
I tell the
gosh.
story all the time because I think it's the best friggin' story in the world. And he was, we were sitting at a table with everyone, all the creative department. Who was there? It was just like we had like
Everyone.
VPs and this and that, and
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
even an owner or two or something like that. And like, okay, if we're gonna get the crowd into this, what is a good chant? And someone was just like, well, we have like we spell out the name. It's kind of old school. BUCCANEERS. Go Bucks. So it's just like, all right, cool. That's one. And then we're just like, anyone else have any ideas that's here that, no bad ideas, no bad ideas. So Tyler raises his hand and then everyone just groans like, ugh. And I'm like, no, I want to hear this idea. So he goes, give me an R. And then everyone just like looks around and I'm like, just play along. He's like, all right, R, give me another R. R, give me another R. What does it spell? R. And I was like, yo, winner.
He says that every day. Like he's been working in that forever.
It's great.
Yeah,
it's
that's his thing.
The team is full of pirates. It makes sense.
To
Okay.
put a little perspective, that like little meeting I think was like day 2 of my internship.
That's right. Oh, dude, what must that have been like?
I remember like when Tyler like got up and did that, and I was like, oh, so that's how the things get decided in the NFL.
So this is
Jake
how it
joined
works.
at the weirdest time.
Yeah, that was a weird
So
time.
I think so day 2 is when John like came into our office and like correct me if I'm wrong, that was the first time you were in Tampa, right?
Yeah, it was. It was the first day I was in Tampa. Yep.
Cool. So, and John, I don't even know if you know this, but like when you came back to talk to us, like when we left and we're like, hey, let's just start designing some stuff with the assets.
Yeah.
I think like I maybe logged into my computer a half hour before that. And John's like leaning over me, like saying, like, yeah, let's put the Bucks logo here and we can do some stuff. And I'm like, I don't have access to that yet.
No, I definitely didn't know that. I knew that you were the intern and I knew that you were sitting at a computer. So I just assumed that you were just like, whatever I told you to do, you're like, yeah, I know where that is. No problem. So yeah, that was a good job. You keeping it together.
Yeah, fake it till you
Great
make
job,
it,
Jake.
I guess.
Well, so here's a question for you guys too. And this was slightly different than the way you guys would normally do things. What was it like to have an outside team come in and just be like, this is what we're gonna do. This is how shit's going, and like we're gonna start working together now. Like how did that change? Kind of like the basic day to day that you guys were dealing with.
So like when I started, we outsourced to Chapel Roberts. So they were like a design agency who created all of our assets. They gave us all the files and said, great, there's your year. The thing with Chapel Roberts is we never had like the team dynamic together. We never could call them and say, hey, I mean, at least not me personally.
Right.
Like, hey, can we adjust this or how does this work? The thing, and no shade to Chapel. I think the assets were great, but they were great on like a billboard. They were great on a standalone piece, but that's like 5% of our workload.
Right.
So what did it look like on a flyer? What did it look like with a ticket? So that was the year with like the cannons. It was like the cannons and the smoke and all this stuff. So it was pretty, but it was like there was like no separation to including a bunch of copy, including like just other components that we needed. So when AK told us that you were joining or that you were helping, like that was the first for me. I already knew your work before that, big fan of what you did. So to me, I thought it was great that we were finally going to have like this artistic feel to what the campaign was going to be. But it was also like a way for us to like talk and work through it,
right.
Work through the problems, work through the good, work through the issues, like put it in real life situations. What does this look like with a quote? What does this look like on a flyer? Like what does this look like on things that we actually work on and we can find like where the problems are what's successful and then build it from there. We've never done that ever. And that was a way for us to like be able to develop as a team. And that was a way for us to develop like the assets in general. I think that was one of the strongest campaigns we had the first year.
Yeah.
Like this year was amazing. Our first year with you, I think that was the strongest, especially even like the revamp, the two strongest years that we had.
Yeah.
In my opinion, by far.
They definitely felt good, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Was very nice. All right, let's get some other questions from other people in here.
Uh-oh.
Okay, so all right, so we got some. I will say that people went easy on you guys. Maybe in part because your guests. Maybe in part because you guys are champions and they feel not worthy, to break your chops. But that's what Brent's here for. As he's been merciless against you guys all episode so far.
No. I got a good question. So like a designer that designs book covers, like if I do a design for a book cover, I'm like, that's the reason the book's gonna sell. Do you guys think you guys are the reason the Bucks won?
Duh.
Yeah, okay, good.
I mean, that's an obvious yes.
Okay.
Answer.
Jake knows the answer.
Yeah, the answer is of course.
Everyone knows the answer is yes.
Yeah.
I think the when we started winning, it built the confidence within certain members of our team to go like get out of their shell and do stuff. For example, I think Drew, he like started going crazy with these wallpapers and they started to be so simple, but as we started winning and we started doing things on field, the things that he did with these wallpapers started becoming like this, oh my gosh. I know we talked about wallpapers, like wallpapers is this big thing, but I even think back to like Michael was our intern, but he didn't do a lot of things that were like out of the ordinary at first. And
Right.
then when he started doing his game day posters and started like, experimenting, and then it was successful. But you have to remember, like when we are not winning, for some reason, everyone hates our graphics. Like everyone's like, oh, get rid of this person. And then it reflects but when we're winning, they like our stuff. But it also like the team had more confidence, but meaning the football players. But I feel like as designers, so did we. We were feeling better. We were winning. So it made us feel like put more passion into the stuff that we were completing. Just because of that like adrenaline that we were getting from it. So I've seen so much growth like within us as a group, even just this year because of the success that we had. And yeah, everything looks phenomenal. Even photos, like our photo team is doing phenomenal with the imagery. So
when
all around.
When the team is bad, it's easy to be critical, and that's not just like. It's not just like the people who you work for. It's the fans too, specifically.
Yeah.
Like you look at social media when the team is doing bad, and it doesn't matter what you put out. Like people are ripping it to shreds.
I know.
Man.
Like, go ahead, Jake. Go ahead.
Like I don't know if you guys remember, like so we used to do game day illustrations for every single game, and like we kind of just poke fun a little bit at the team.
Yeah, those were fun too.
They're very fun, and I loved doing them. And it's easy to look at like the few bad comments, people like just absolutely shitting on it, and then you completely disregard the thousands of likes that it does have, know.
Right.
But like, man, like. It was just like people are getting so mad at these cartoons, and like, I'm not gonna lie, it did. Like, I was like, oh no, like, this doesn't make me feel good, But I know it's because they're frustrated with their team, losing, and I get that. I've been a fan of teams too. Like,
is it easy to
when
remember?
They're doing bad, it's hard to be like, yay.
Is it easy to like? It's not easy to remember that though. Like when the team's doing bad and you guys put creative out, and people are just like, "Fuck you, you suck," like over and over again. That's harsh. That's not just like
that hurts.
Yeah, that's not just like, oh, like what if this was like more red on this side or blah blah blah. People are just like straight up like, this is garbage and you should die. Like that's just the sentiments that you get, which is not something a normal, even like if someone were to redesign, you know, the branding of a beloved whatever, and it's not what people, you know, would want, you get a lot of negative backlash, but it's not like sports when you are literally getting like death threats for the work.
Man.
Yeah.
You know, like I think, you know, this would be its whole own conversation, but like, you know, just rebrands of sports teams logos and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard for like fans to kind of like disassociate themselves from just like pure fandom. You know, let's just say like it'll never happen because it's pretty much a perfect logo. But like, let's say the Yankees change their logo anyway.
Oh, big
there's
backlash.
0% chance that
backlash.
John, you're going to be like, love it.
I'm burning Yankee Stadium to the ground.
Exactly. Like even if somehow that logo was 100 times better, like the most perfect logo in the world, you'd
Doesn't
still
matter.
Be like, fucking sucks.
Doesn't matter, dude. I'm a Jets fan, right? And it's like, or I was a Jets fan. I'm like barely a Jets fan at this point in my life. And it's so funny to hear like I grew up with the Jets logo of the 80s with like the sharp like the actual jet coming off the J.
Oh, like coming out of the J.
Yeah, which was fun, but it was also like it wasn't great. And then when they went back to kind of like the retro Jets, which they have now, I liked it because it was different. But I mean, that's not really that great either. And then they would do like the vintage Titans, you know, style, which then I really liked because it wasn't green because I hate green in the way that they use it. And then you get like all the people, and this is just like it starts like going off into like a whole different thing. But then you know, like that is like a brand that I like, maybe because it's temporary. I don't know if that's the thing, whatever. But like it seems like well designed. It feels nice. It feels like something as a fan I could represent and like not walk around looking like a booger, you know. And it you know, like I could latch on to something like that, but it's easier from a team that maybe doesn't have an identity that feels so beloved, you know. Like for the Bucks, and this was a question that someone brought up, like Bucko Bruce and the creamsicle. Like fans like love the orange creamsicle and all that shit. And the first thing I did when I came down was I talked with Tyler and I was like, what's the deal with the pirate guy? Are we keeping him or not? Like, and he was just like, I don't think anybody wants him around. And I was like, cool, because I hated that back when it was like in the 80s or whatever. Like I didn't like. I know a lot of people love it. And Jake, you're like a uniform nut, so you like really appreciate that shit. How do you guys feel about like the creamsicle and you know, like the fancy pirate on the side of the helmet that everyone supposedly loved so much?
I love the creamsicles. They're great. It's just one of those. It's like it's a very unique color palette. You know, you
unique.
You don't see orange and red. You know,
that's true. That's true.
There's a good reason for that.
And white. I love it, but you know, I think a lot of it does come into the nostalgia of it too. You know, like imagine a world where that was never the logo. Like the Bucks always had the flag as their logo,
right?
And today, like we changed, you know, to the winking pirate.
Yeah,
you know, I'm sure it would just get murdered online. Like people would be like, "What are you doing?"
I would absolutely love to have a separate timeline when the creamsicle never happened, and then the creamsicle was introduced, and to just watch Tampa burn to the ground over it.
Man, I mean, it'd be interesting for sure, but I love it. I hope someday we can at least have like a throwback if the NFL ever changes the one helmet rule where we can have the white helmets again. Right. I love it. I mean, I love our current set. I'm so happy that we changed to the current uniforms that we have.
It is nice. It is nice. One of the questions was asking about And this is not. I don't think this is not a question that you guys can answer. And we can talk a little bit about the relationship of the NFL and Nike and stuff like that. Someone asked, how did the previous alarm clock uniform numbers ever get approved? Now, there it is. So if you're watching on YouTube, Evita just pointed to her old alarm clock jersey that she had from Jameis Winston.
Jameis Winston.
Now, one of the things I said when I walked in there, too, was these are garbage. I hate them. And the new uniforms, I actually like. I think the new uniforms are good. The red looks great. The numbers look good. They're simple. They're bold. Everything looks nice. When that type of stuff happens, as the designers on the team, how much input do you guys have? Now, I know the answer to this, but for people who are now, Evita, remember there's also an audio portion of this that not everybody watches it. Evita just made a hand signal of a 0.
Yes, absolutely none. 0. I think it's like a 2-year process, from what I understand.
Yeah.
But I've heard, like, listening to even Ryan when he, like, with the Sacramento Kings at MLC, and how, like, directly they impacted the city edition. That would have been an amazing process for us to go through, but we literally had 0 conversations. At least I had not.
From what I understand, kind of like what John said, like I've uniform design is like, and logo design is like what made me want to get in sports design. So I'm obsessed with this stuff. But like, yeah, it's a long process with what an NFL team has to do. And I might be wrong on my dates and stuff here, but essentially you have to, like, let's say, so right now the Bucs just redid their uniforms and their logo, deeper red. So technically a logo change. We would have to keep, from what I understand, we would have to keep that for sure for 5 years, and we couldn't change it. You can change stuff like face mask, you can change like your pants, but like the jersey's got to stay put. Now, of those 5 years, in year 3, I believe, is when you have to say that you want to like come up with a new look. So that way, the 2 years with the whole like merchandising and stuff like that. And then as for, who does it, typically, usually the logo and stuff is with the NFL league. And again, I'm pretty sure, I might be wrong. The logo is usually with the league. I think Nike has taken over a little bit. Like, I'm pretty sure they were pretty involved with the Rams logo design.
Right.
And then as for the designers themselves, now I'm pretty sure like teams like the Jets team, like they had some input, and maybe the Titans did. I can't remember, but for the most part, it's Nike, the league, ownership, and I'm sure VPs and stuff too are basically the people in charge.
It's like kind of weird that it's taken out of your hands, but at the same time, could you guys possibly imagine doing a complete franchise rebrand while you do everything else?
No.
No, I can't. I can't imagine finding time for it, but I would be.
You would love it.
100%
It would have been awesome.
Man, I'd be.
Super cool.
I would do all-nighters working on that. That'd be the dream project.
We had, when we came in, so when we came in to work with you guys, it was me and 3 other guys. Wilson Fong, Neil Stevenson, Jerry O'Leary. And we kind of all had our different specialties, and we kind of had to try and like take this all on and just kind of hit it from every angle. So I was the design side, obviously. And it was so funny. So like when Wilson and I would go through stuff at night sometimes, like especially at the beginning, we were putting a presentation together for you guys to kind of like show you what we thought would be a good way to handle, the team moving forward, especially since you were hosting the Super Bowl in 2021 and all this thing. And
you made uniforms.
I was making logos. I was making uniforms. I was going for it. And he was like, John, he's like, we can't present these to the team. And I was like, I don't care. I was like, we're going to show the team. We're going to show them. And like, if they like it, it's not going to matter whether we were supposed to show it or not, because we were working on campaign stuff with you guys. And it was just like, I was just like, I'm going to put it out there. If someone loves it, especially an owner, it's not gonna matter, you know. And it was like one of those things I kept doing. And of course, it didn't work out. I got a few like, I really like that, but we have this, or legal says this, or whatever. We can't change this, or whatever. And it's really interesting too, because I was in a very mindset of like black and red, you know. But then black and red would work great for the Buccaneers, but then it's also, well, the Atlanta Falcons are right next door and they're black and red. And the Oakland Raiders are black and silver, and they're kind of like pirates, but not really. But everyone kind of looks at them like that. And it's just like, oh man, like we are literally the only team that has a skull on the helmet, which is the most badass thing you could possibly have on a football helmet. And we can't make it the most badass colors because a bird and a guy with an eye patch that's not a pirate has stolen it from us.
Hey, but we got 3 swords.
We do have 3 swords, so that's good. Ultra violent. Oh man. So so you guys have no input ever on like those types of things, like choices like the alarm clock thing, or what the logo looks like, or the placement and all that kind of stuff. So that I think that's something that, like, when people talk about sports, they assume it's all on you guys, but they don't realize the extent of, or the boundaries that you guys have working for a franchise like this.
Honestly, I just think, you know, in Evita, chime in, but like, you know, when I have like friends or family and stuff back home, they don't really know what we do. You know, I have so many people ask like, "Oh, so you make logos?" I'm like, "For the Bucks?" I mean, yeah, I do some logo work, but
yeah, you know, that's a good question, right? So like when you guys go home for like holidays or do whatever, and like a cousin shows up, or an aunt or an uncle or something like that, and they're like, so what is it that you do again? What is your answer? Because if someone asks me what I do, to this day, I still don't know how to answer. I just say designer, or I run a branding firm, to which typically leads to like 10 more questions after that, even though I'm trying to like, I say designer sometimes, and they're like, oh, like a fashion designer? And I'm just like, that's the only designer you know? But like, how do you guys describe what you do to family members or friends or neighbors or something like that?
So the little like line that I use that tends to help very often is I just typically say like, you know, if you see a Buccaneers logo somewhere around Tampa Bay, there's a good chance me or my team put it there.
Yeah.
And then they kind of get it. They're like, oh, so like a sign. I'm like, yep, we do signs.
Yeah.
They're like, T-shirts? I'm like, well, not Nike T-shirts. Nike does that, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, so you guys make the jerseys.
I know.
I got it.
Yeah,
I think I'm in a harder position because I work with partnership.
Yeah, right.
You know, so my days are, especially now, like February through July is probably the busiest time for me, and we're working on proposals and renewals. So when they ask, the best way that I explain it to anyone is, wherever you see a Bucks flag and a brand, I probably had something to do with that. You know,
Right.
or like, so that's literally the only response I can really say. Anything dealing with a partner brand and the Bucks, I play a huge part in what that looks like. But that's
Right.
all my mindset is on now. So it's in a weird place with what do I do.
So I have one. Let me see. I think I have. Actually, well, here's a quick one. When quarantine started and you guys went remote, good or bad for your
Fantastic.
life? You like it?
Fantastic. Best thing ever to happen to me.
Is it because you get to be home with your family, or because you are a shut-in like Brent and I am?
Um, the commute, was always tough for me.
Yeah, the
Like
commute
it's at
sucks.
45 to an hour.
Yeah.
I miss the guys in the office. I miss that bad. And me and Jake were even just talking about that today, like where our desks were. If I look to the left, he's right there. We were so close. You saw our area.
Yep.
That's probably in lunch. I know you only eat like ham and cheese sandwiches, John, but I
turkey
miss
and
the
cheese
cool-
sandwiches.
Oh yeah, turkey.
Thank you very much.
Yo, but let me tell you, the lunch at the Buccaneers facility,
Yes.
pretty good.
Top notch.
Pretty
Like,
good.
leave it to me to talk about food and my friends, but that's probably that is the only, I don't miss like waking up earlier, like getting ready or ironing, because we all dressed like business casual also. So
Yeah, a lot of business cash going on at the Buccaneers
Yeah.
facility. You know what's
Yeah.
you know what's cool though that I didn't really put together when we started working together was that when you go to get lunch, everyone who works for the team eats lunch in the same place. So like you could be sitting next to a linebacker or the punter or like a trainer or something, and just everyone's there. And it's
Yeah.
such an odd thing because like half the guys are in uniform because they're like warming up or they're practicing or they're just came out of the gym or something like that. And then you got a lot of like biz cash, like cell phones on belt buckle types, kind of like over in one corner, and then everyone kind of like
Yeah,
sections
yeah,
off
yeah.
into their own little cliques in like the
Yeah.
the cafeteria area. It's a really interesting dynamic to see, kind of like, because that's like the true team. It's everybody that's involved.
And no one's like really like fanboy, fangirl
No.
either. Everyone's real chill. I think one day, like my name badge dropped, and Vita Vea was right there. I was like, "Hey, you dropped your badge," because he's Vita, I'm Vita. So I thought that was like, but it's like real chill. Everybody's real
Right.
easygoing. Like that's why it was hard when the whole coaching staff and everyone shifted, because
Yeah.
we got to know who they were while they were there. So that was a hard year for me.
Kind of weird this year too, having so many new faces and like not knowing any of them really.
Yeah.
You know, because like you become friends with these players, and
Yeah.
like when we would do photo shoots and stuff, it's well, it's funny. The first photo shoot we did, we brought in Marcus Smith, who was awesome. And
Chicago.
I forget who we were shooting, but he had a lot of jewelry on. And he had like a necklace and a watch and a whatever. And who were we with? It was someone, I don't know.
Ooh, what year was that?
This was 2018, the beginning of 2018. We were shooting.
Yeah.
And I forget, he was all decked out. He had a lot of jewelry. And I forget who on our side was his buddy there. Oh my God, who was the social?
Was it Quan?
Quan.
I know Quan is who I'm thinking.
I think it was
about,
Quan, and I think who was the kid that used to do social media for the team?
Austin.
I don't remember.
I don't know if he was in there. Either way.
I forget who it was, but whoever it was like social media, and he would always like follow the players around, like shooting them for like Instagram and stuff like that. And this was a few years ago, so he became tight with some of the players. And I remember like when we were about to shoot, I was like, "Yo, we can't have diamonds like in the shots." So he was like, yeah. So he's like, I know. So he takes a full of stuff and he gives it to him. And I don't know, it must have been a lot. It must have been a lot of money worth of diamonds that this kid was just holding in his pockets.
Well, that's a great point, because when they see you, they trust you. Like,
Right.
They trust, like they're around you. They know who you are. They know what you do.
Right.
Like to know. Like a lot of them knew we did graphics. So when they seen us, big person like Gerald McCoy,
Yeah.
he knew we did graphics. So
Right.
he was doing like his best, foot forward, because he knew that what we were using them for.
Right.
And so that makes a difference. That makes a difference for sure when
And you have a lot of these players too that it's like you see them on TV or you see them at the game and they're like animals, but then when you talk to them, like Levante is like the nicest guy, like some of these guys are just so nice and they're so happy. Or Devin is like, these guys are like smiling constantly. and they're just like, I mean, and I would do the same thing. Like if I was living out my dream and I was like 22 years old and I was getting paid well to live out a fantasy, I don't know if I would ever stop smiling either. You know, and it's so hard because we're like trying to shoot them to be tough, and they're just like, I'm so happy to be here right now. Like, I don't even care.
Yeah, especially like a lot of the rookies that haven't really necessarily been through that. Yeah. Man, I remember like, again, going back to like when I was an intern, like that was like the coolest part of like early on was like being around the players. And then, you know, most of them were my age, you know.
Yeah, right. Right.
You know, and like, it was just like, but you know what though? Like that is like it was a weird like experience because like, of course, you know, you always hear on ESPN, they're like, oh, they're 26 and they're about their contracts expiring and stuff.
Yeah.
But then like, you know, talking with them, be like, oh, you as well were just in college. Like, you know, you're also like thinking about, you know, just the exact same stuff I'm doing. We just have, you know, we're technically coworkers kind of deal too. You know, like,
no, you are. But like, what about like when it's like, you have like a 8-year veteran.
We have a special guest.
Look, there. Okay, yeah. For anyone who's watching, Brent always has his stupid fucking cats on the podcast, and they're always just like meowing and shit. And he's like, "Can you hear my cats?" And I'm like, "Yes, I can hear your cats."
Oh my god!
You guys didn't hear them today. They're being more polite.
Look at them. They're just like, if you're watching online, look, stupid ass cats just like trying to like break his printer or like knock over a plant or something. But like, you know, it's really weird to be, well, first of all, it's really weird to walk into a group full of players like that. And especially like as a fan also, like you're a fan separate from your profession. And it's so funny to like watch the players on TV and they still feel older than you, you know? For some reason, you always are in the mindset of like being a kid.
And I'm old.
Yeah, it's me too. And you watch, and you watch like a rookie, right? Like I'll watch like Gleyber Torres on the Yankees, and he's like 23 years old. But like you watch it as in a childlike mindset, and you're like, oh man, when I grow up, I want to be like him. Or like, yo, I'm like 15 years older than that kid. But no, it's crazy to like be like around like players like that, and when you see them in person too, you're just like, oh my god, you are a baby. You're just like a little baby child, and you are.
I say that all the time. Proud they're babies.
You guys eat lunch with Brunk?
Well, we weren't there this whole year, so everyone that's pretty much this entire year since last March, we haven't been in dining. At least not the designers.
That's a bummer, man.
Well, it's really crazy too because it was like the last photo shoot we did all together in person was March 5th or March 6th, which was
with Devin, Levante,
and it was days before quarantine, like literally days, like we just made it. And then after that,
you came for like one day.
Yep.
And you had Nike like Air Maxes on and joggers. We were like, who is this?
That's right.
Who is this guy?
I came in. I got off the plane.
You came and left
into the lift, and the guy asked me if I was a 26-year-old athlete, and I was like, "You got it, pal."
Yes.
Was it because he was taking you to $1 or?
It was, it was. Okay. And I had like a Yankees hat on and like my friggin' like my joggers and my sneakers on. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, sure I am.
Dude, one time my car broke down while it was parked at work, and so I had to get a tow truck. And then the guy picked me up and like he drove me to like the auto shop or whatever. And he said, you know, I got to be honest with you. I was real bummed when I wasn't towing a player's car. I was like, thanks, man. Send me the bill.
Oh, you're just a boring piece of shit.
It was dead silent that whole drive. And then it was like as I was getting out, and he's like, hey, by the way.
He had to tell you. What an asshole.
Oh, exactly.
I'm sure that guy's listening, but that guy sucks.
Man, I wasn't even happy that my car was getting towed in the first place. And I was just...
Oh man. So I want to thank you guys, but before we wrap up, we have to talk about the biggest deal ever. You guys are champions, like actual Super Bowl champions. When you, first of all, now you guys are employees of the Buccaneers, so you can say it very easily. Now me, as an outside contractor, I feel like I was tight enough with you guys, and I played a role pivotal enough to be able to say I was part of the team. So you better believe I've told everyone that I too am a Super Bowl champion.
Yeah, rightfully so.
How does it feel?
Take it away, Evita.
I think when we won the Green Bay game, not I think I know when we won the Green Bay game, when we won as the NFC champions, I had more emotion for that game. Because I didn't know like what that outcome would be. Yes, I trusted our team. Yes, I wanted to trust that everything would go our way, but we haven't, like, being here 5 seasons, we've never ever gone that far.
Yeah.
But it was like a real life fairy tale, like to be in your home stadium for the biggest game of the entire season, like to be home, that was something that we couldn't even paint a more perfect picture. That was scary because James and I are simultaneously working, like we're doing graphics while third quarter, fourth quarter is coming, and it's like the most nerve-wracking game. And that game, I remember just being overwhelmed with like, I mean, I even had like water eyes, like is this really happening? But the Super Bowl, that game for me was like the it game, and then Super Bowl was like just like, is this real life? Like leading up to it, I even think the night before I was like, guys, this feels like the night before Christmas, and it just was like an overwhelming like excitement of who. And I'm probably the only person to say it, but I didn't even care what happened that day. Like to be there, to be home, to see that the NFL, like our stadium looked gorgeous, like from head to toe, top to bottom. I never knew it could look that pretty, and they did an incredible job. But to be there, like our whole team was there, our families were there.
Yeah.
To feel it like that, the experience in itself, it's still like I wake up every day like, holy crap.
Well, that you bring up a really good point that I have to ask too, because as a fan, when I am watching, and it has nothing to do with work, when I'm watching the Yankees in the playoffs, and especially now that my daughter is older and I've taught her a little bit about the game, and we used to go to games together when we could, and she would, we watch playoff games together. When something good happens, as a fan, you can't contain yourself, and you're yelling and screaming, and you're doing all this stuff, high-fiving, doing cartwheels in your living room, whatever the hell it is that you do. But you guys have to work on top of that. Like, and you have timelines to get shit done. Like, you have to get social media images out while the game is going on. How do you do it?
Were like this.
Yeah.
I remember getting a FaceTime from like my aunt, because the one that I talked about, the Eagles, and I'm like holding back a tear, and I'm like, Titi, I have to go because I'm doing the quarter graphics for Cheer. I'm also messaging Stephen James because we're flipping like the Super Bowl graphic once we win.
Yeah.
So that was the hardest game for me, because I couldn't even, like, words weren't even coming out right while typing. And then I kept thinking, is this a score? Is this like the right score? That was the most nerve-wracking game I've ever had.
Tampa Bay wins B to square.
That was hard. So that was like, here's this, and this is, a lot of people don't know this. Super Bowl, I don't know how James does it. Like, props to the entire team. Super Bowl, James and Drew were working. During fourth quarter, we got word as to who the MVP was. So their seats are in the stands. They made a press box in the stands. I have to show you a photo. It's super bizarre. But Jason had called him over, whispered the MVP, but where he's sitting, there's fans. I had to stand behind him like a bodyguard and block his screen from people seeing. He's designing the MVP graphic for Super Bowl during the last few minutes of Super Bowl, trying to enjoy the Super Bowl.
Oh man.
So that, like, I'm shaking for him because I'm like, oh my, not only is he like, he's trying to cut it out and mask it and make sure like shadows are right. And he wrote Shaq Barrett just in case people seen to throw you off.
Yeah.
But I'm like, oh my God, I would mess up and not change it. And I have a photo of Tom Brady and it says Shaq Barrett and it's a freaking nightmare. So like,
get ripped apart online.
To make sure no one sees it. But that would, like, for me, I was trembling and I wasn't even working it. Drew was also next to him doing quarter graphics. It's mind over matter. It's your discipline and mind over matter. Like, this has to be done. This has to get out. Put it aside. Celebrate after. And firsthand, like, that's the only way to get through it.
Well, that's the other thing too, right? So like,
I'm not sure I understand.
Oh, nice one.
This is okay. Like the CIA of designers.
It's true.
Kind of.
Now, when you guys, when you're on a team, right? And I'll say you guys are on a team because I consider everyone who's part of the franchise on the team. And I felt it too. Like when you work with the team, you become a fan of the team. Mm-hmm. Who were your original teams? Like you, Evita, you said the Eagles, right?
My aunt was an Eagles fan. I was more like players. Like I loved Troy Polamalu, so I followed Steelers.
Yeah.
You know, huge fan of like Hines Ward, Mike Tomlin. I love him, but I didn't have.
You didn't have a team.
No, not. I mean, I liked the Steelers. I did.
And then
I liked the Eagles because my family did, but not like die hard.
And Jake, you were a Rams guy?
Yep.
You were a Rams guy.
Yeah, my dad's a diehard Rams fan, and I grew up with a Rams fan too.
Do you guys simultaneously root for your the team that you grew up with and the Bucks, or are you just like we're like Bucks fans now?
I still root for both teams, but I definitely want the Bucks, to win more because obviously I have a way bigger stake in it. And the Rams had a great year this year. They made it to the divisional round, second round of the playoffs.
Right.
And all my friends from back home are asking, like, all right, so what if the Rams and Buccaneers in the NFC Championship? Like, who do you want to win? I'm like, the Bucks. Like, what a dumb question,
It's one of those things that I always wonder because like you always hear about like these players. I grew up with this fan. I grew up with that fan. Or like say for instance, I played baseball and I was drafted by the Red Sox. Like, what do I do? Mm-hmm. And it's such a weird thing to have to then shift. And then especially for players too, because like players, they're young. They're young kids. They're still super fans of the teams they grew up rooting for only within the past 10 years or so. That's a weird thing. It almost like takes it away from you.
Steelers played in Raymond James, and I remember working that game. And that game, I wore like a black pullover. I didn't even wear Bucks colors. I'm like, I'm wearing black. I'm just gonna be neutral. Like I'm watching the game. But I remember we lost. Yeah. And I Bucks. And I remember feeling so sad. Like, dang, I didn't enjoy that win. I didn't enjoy the Steelers winning. The highlight was like seeing like Ryan Shazier, seeing him in the tunnels when we were allowed to be in the tunnels, and like, shaking his hand and wishing him well from his recoveries. But otherwise, it was the saddest day. Like, what the heck? It wasn't even enjoyable because. Regardless of how our roots are, like this is our heart. Like we put our mind, our heart, our soul, all of our energy into this team, and you get to know the people behind it, and you just want them to do so well.
Right.
So,
yeah, exactly. I mean, I was the exact same way when the Bucks lost to the Rams this year. Because I was like, damn, like this has potential big playoff implications, and thankfully, like it worked out well for us. But it was true though. Like a loss at that point of the season was not great for the Bucks.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you're right. When you put when you put all your heart into something, it's very easy to kind of forget the shit that supposedly meant a lot to you as a kid. But like you're right, like you didn't have any stake in the game. You're just paying to be a fan. Really, you're just buying their shit.
Yeah, no. my friend from back home put it that way too.
To be a fan.
Yeah, he was saying like, yeah, Jake, like if the Rams won the Super Bowl, you realize you have to pay to get a shirt, right? You know, he's like, the Bucks win, like, who knows?
Oh man, well, thank you guys for being on the very special Super Bowl championship edition.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Yeah, it was cool. It's something I felt like it would be cool to just talk about, like we fuck around a little bit, but there's like, it's so much cool stuff to actually talk about, and a lot of things that like, it's like a true kind of behind the scenes. And I think it's something that most people don't even know where to begin with. Like, some people, how many movies have you seen where like someone works in an advertising agency, or like someone works at like a startup or like a web something or other. Like there's like these like mainstream ideas of what people in the creative world are, but the creative people behind sports are gigantic mysteries. And it's and that's part of like why MLC, which we've talked about before, like why MLC exists, is to try and like get more sports designers together and kind of like figure out more of what you do, commiserate a little bit and shit like that. But like the regular public, even designers, have no idea what goes on behind the scenes of like a football team, a baseball team, a hockey team. Like
mad chaos.
Nobody knows. It's chaos. It's like, maybe one day, like, sports in general will appreciate it a little bit more, being that it is so important. I mean, like, I wear a Yankees hat every single day. People wear jerseys every single day. People wear T-shirts every single... Like, all this shit, like, means so much to everybody. And I always think that it's, like... Especially, like, sports designers, too, who, like, have their feet... Like, Jake, you were saying, like, that Venn diagram being kind of small... Like, being able to love both of those things, it's just, think about how much is missing from sports design, because it doesn't have the opportunity to flourish the way other things do, what's
nice though is like, I think we are getting to that point though, like slowly. You look 5 years ago, there are teams now that have like senior designers and art directors that didn't back then.
Right.
Or you look at like, look how many like Sports Center, ESPN, or whoever, I think, what was it? CBS did or Fox did all the illustrations for like the player graphics and stuff, So
there's that girl.
We're getting there. Like, it's opening up, and I think, sports design has a pretty solid future as long as people are open to it.
I mean, I hope so. There's so much great visual stuff to play with that it's just like to me, the worst thing in the world was the fucking Fox NFL robot.
Oh, Cletus?
Yeah, you know what I mean? Because it was just like, you want to talk about just like completely removing all the humanity from sports. I hated it so much. It's so much. I also didn't know his name was Cletus.
Yeah, isn't that great?
I enjoyed it.
Oh no, get out of here with that. It's just like, it's like, but this is also coming from a guy where it's just like, I love like the pictures of like Lou Gehrig wearing like a button-up cardigan on the top steps of the dugout, So Cletus, I hate you. Thank you guys. Thank you guys so much. A big shout out to like the whole Buccaneers team. Everybody that we worked with, so many people to name.
David Sharpenstein,
There you
Drew
go.
Morris, James Powelzik, Mike Aguilar, all of our other people at the Bucks,
Don't forget
Torrey
Steve.
Richmond, Kyle Zedeker.
Don't forget Steve.
Steve Ballmer.
And Tori, everybody.
A lot of
producers. Oh my God, the producers
video
are
producers.
killing it this year.
There is so many people that are responsible for a whole package going out. So it was like, it really was like, this year was totally a team effort, and especially going back to even like day one, that first photo shoot, the secret photo shoot that we had to do to make sure that the uniforms didn't leak, the secret video shoot that we did to make sure that nothing got, like, you're talking about like players walking around our own property wearing cloaks so that no one would get a glimpse of it. It was a crazy season,
and it was hot.
And it was very hot. Yeah, it was very hot, and it sucks that we got to really miss out on some of the cool stuff that could have been because of all the COVID stuff. But you know, it paid off in the end, and now we're all champions, except for Brent. Brent's not a champion. Just the three of us, not Brent.
John, you got to come down and get your ring size.
I'm gonna. Tell me when. I'll fucking take a horse and buggy down
Are
there.
you gonna walk?
I'm not getting on a plane, but
get one from PA. They're all over Lancaster.
Yes, give me an Amish guy to escort me down to Tampa. I'm in. But yeah, no, thanks so much, you guys. And everyone, go check them out on Instagram. I got their handles up here.
Twitter.
On
Twitter.
Twitter? Oh, you prefer Twitter?
Yeah.
All right. Is it that you guys have the same?
The same one. Yeah.
Okay. Evita is at Ortiz EVS, and Jake. Wait, Jake, you on Twitter or no?
Yeah, my Twitter is at JakeM70.
Oh, there it is. It's a little bit easier that way. All right, check these guys out, and check them out on Instagram too, because fucking why not? But yeah, no, thanks guys. You guys are the best. And wait, Brent, you got any words of wisdom to leave us with? Nothing.
I got nothing.
Fucking guy.
Great talking with you, Brent.
Thank you guys. Take care.
And
thanks for having us,
bye,
John.
John.
Stay up! A frozen break that paralyzed the truth! Melting till the soul's not leaking through!